What is up, guys? Today we're going to be comparing the Bold M1 to the LG G7. Now, I've been getting a lot of questions about these, or which one should you get, so let's go ahead and jump into it, and let's just start off with the price. So this is $200 flat for the Bold M1. In the G7, you can actually find a little under $200, and you can find it even cheaper, like $150. I've seen it even cheaper on eBay, so just have to shop around, but links will be in the description and down below in the comments as always. Now, as you can see with the Bold M1, it has a glass back, and so they both have premium hardware. You have a dual camera setup, little Bold logos at the back, and you have kind of like this pitch black. They call it Raven black. It actually has kind of like a color shift to it. I really like it. It's a very pretty phone. On the sides, you have your volume rocker and your power button. Down below, you do have the headphone jack, USB Type-C, and one single firing speaker. And on the front, you have a full screen design with a pop-up camera up top. And as you can see, it looks really good, very thin bezels, very nice looking phone. So as you can see with the G7, you have the same material, glass and metal. You do have a dual camera setup, a physical fingerprint scanner. The Bold M1 has a in-display fingerprint scanner, a flash. You've got your Google Assist button and your volume rocker. And then on this side, you have your power button. And of course, down below you have the headphone jack, USB Type-C, and one single firing speaker. And on the G7, as you can see, you have a notch up front, pretty slim bezels, but as you can see, I think the Bold M1 just looks better from the front with its full screen design. Now, the Bold M1 has a 6.4-inch AMOLED display. It is a 1080p display, 403 for the PPI. A very beautiful display. And on the G7, we have a 6.1-inch display, and it is a 1440p display. And it's a very nice display, so it does have a higher resolution, but it is an IPS display. It is IP68 dust and water resistant, which is great. The display is always on as well. Now, the Bold M1 does have a bigger display, and like I said, there's no intrusion, and you have an IPS panel on the G7, which again looks great. You will be able to tell the difference in colors, just deeper blacks with an AMOLED display, but they both look really good. But the advantage that the G7 has is it does have a higher resolution, so you can watch up to 1440p. Which is excellent as well, so that's kind of the choice you have to make. But me personally, I really love the the full screen phones, with the slim bezels, no notch. I just really enjoy that. And right here on the G7, you kind of have, the intrusion, speaker grill, front facing camera. And you also have an LED notification light, which is something that the Bold M1 lacks. It has no LED notification light. Let's go ahead and check out the speaker quality, starting with the G7. So as you can see, very loud, very crisp and clear. One of my favorite single firing speakers. It's extremely loud for one speaker. So you're just getting overall a harder kick and just a more fuller sound with the G7. So on the G7, you have Android 9 Pie, Snapdragon 845, Adreno 630, micro SD support up to 1 terabyte, with the base model at 64 gigs and 4 gigs of RAM. So with the G7, you actually have the Helio P70 processor along with the Mali G72 GPU. You also have micro SD support up to 128 gigs with 128 gigs of storage built in and 4 gigs of RAM. So basically, you will be able to play games on high on the G7, and on the Bold M1 you'll pretty much be able to play medium to high settings depending on which game it is, but mostly just medium. I've tested games like Call of Duty Mobile, PUBG, and those all play high on here, and you can play medium on the Bold M1, no problem. So let's go ahead and just do a quick speed test on both these guys. Alright, let's go ahead and start with YouTube. 3, 2, 1. Let's go ahead and try Call of Duty Mobile. 3, 2, 1. So as you can see, this Snapdragon 845 is done, but the Helio G70 is right behind it. So as you can see, very close. Wait, Surfers 3, 2, 1. For some reason the G7 is lagging behind here. Let's try Instagram 3, 2, 1. So as you can see, very close in speed. The G7, like I said, will be able to play those games on high settings. Alright, so let's talk about the camera. So you have a 16 megapixel camera on the Bold M1 and a 5 megapixel depth sensor, shoots in 1080p, and you do have that pop-up camera that shoots in 1080p. So the G7 has a 16 megapixel standard and a 16 megapixel ultra wide, which I think is more useful than the depth sensor. So that is one thing that the Bold M1 is lacking. And you can also shoot in 2160p, 60 frames per second. The front facing camera is 8 megapixels and this shoots in 1080p. Now photos on both these cameras are actually kind of similar. They both take the same kind of photos, as you can see. Now, I do think the G7 does a little bit better with overall, image quality and just the sharpness and detail. I think it just does a little bit more, especially when you zoom in, you can really see. Here we have the picture of the microphone, and as you can see, they both look very good, minus some color differences. Both very good. Now here's a low light photo, which I think the G7 handled this photo a little bit better, but I think the color was actually a little more accurate on the Bold M1. But it really comes down to taste. But as you can see, they both lost quite a bit of detail. If I grab something like the 7 Pro or the S10e, you would be able to see much more detail here. You also have that ultra wide camera on here, so same setting just with the ultra wide, and as you can see, I was able to get much more content in this photo. Alright, so another thing that you should know is that you do not have NFC on the Bold M1. The G7 does have NFC for mobile payments. You also have your built-in fingerprint scanner. Now it really comes down to what you like. So on here, if the phone is just face up, you can just unlock it, boom, and it's pretty decently fast. And on the G7, you kind of have to pick it up and then unlock it, but it is much faster than the built-in one on the Bold M1. So you have the quad DAC on the G7 as well, so if you love to listen to music and stuff like that, then you're gonna love that that this is on here. Now on the G7, you do have a 3000 milliamp battery, 18 watt fast charging, and you also have wireless charging as well. And the G7 will get you around 7 hours or 30 minutes of screen on time. And on the Bold M1, you have a 3500 milliamp battery, 18 watt fast charging, and 10 watt wireless charging as well. So I think I got about 6 hours and 30 minutes of screen on time from the battery drain test. And so as you can see, just an hour more on the G7. But if you're a gamer, you're going to be running to the battery regardless of which phone you pick up, because they kind of have small batteries on here. And it is what it is, but they both perform pretty good battery life. If you just use it normal, if you're a light user, then you'll be fine with both these phones. But overall, they're both excellent phones. You're pretty much getting a flagship phone with all the flagship specs on the G7. And with the Bold M1, you're getting a really good phone for the value as well. Full screen, pretty decent cameras, great storage. You can play games on here. You can pretty much do anything on here for this cheap $200 price point. So which one do you guys prefer? Let me know, and I will catch you guys in the next one.